Hi guys, and welcome to the very first episode of the Khoola Biz Lounge podcast. My name is Bongani Mzobe. Today we are here at JD Funerals. These guys have been around for the last 41 years, and we're here to find out how they've managed to keep this running for so long and who is behind this business. Come along with me. Welcome guys once again to the Khoola Biz Lounge podcast. I'm with a business leader that I've got great respect for. I'm with also Molapo from JD Funerals, and we are here basically to understand this whole operation, to get a grip on what has kept them going for so long, and just to understand what makes them tick. I must say that, the business leader that I have next to me is someone that I've got great respect for. The first time I met her, she was, a person who approached me with such chilled vibes. I don't forget how she came to me and said, "Hey, how are you? My name is Tsulu. I like your work, and yeah, I think we could do some work together." I didn't even have an idea who she was. I think I realized 2 or 3 days after that, oh shucks, I'm speaking to the big boss of JD Funerals. And at that time we were at Scopionville, yes, at the Makondose event, and I had no idea who I was talking to, because I'm a good person. So I speak well with all people that I meet. Yes. But one thing that I picked up about this business leader is how chilled and grounded you are, and how much of a wise business leader you are. I came to appreciate that, guys, a few months after we had done some work together. And I realized that, shucks, this person can actually say one thing to you now, and you could realize 5 hours later that this person was actually saying this. She's got such a subtle wisdom about her. Laid back, chilled, never in a hurry, and she's just such a pleasure to have a conversation with. Khoola Tsotetsi, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Bongani.
And welcome to you too, bereaved.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I hope I've done justice to the intro that I've given you today.
Very kind words. Thank you so much.
But it must speak to who you are and where you come from. I'm not so sure if you are born with this aura, you are born with this character of just being grounded and chilled, yet your wisdom piercing so much. How where would you trace it from? Where does that come from?
It's very interesting what you're saying, but I grew up in Soweto, in Tladi. And I think growing up in Tladi, you have an opportunity to interact with different kinds of people, who teach you, so much about life. So just your life experiences growing up make you who you are.
And I'm sure your childhood memories must have played a role in what you ultimately became and who you are today. But tell us a bit about where you were born, your life as a child. What type of a child were you at home, at school? Just give us a bit on that.
I was born in Tladi, in Soweto, and I grew up there at my grandmother's house. And so I grew up in Tladi and also in Rockville. And as I said earlier on, the interactions that you have with people in the community, people in your family, make you really who you are. I grew up in a family, around the family that was in business, or you could call it business then. And my grandmother ran a fish and chips shop.
Wow.
In Tladi,
Okay.
Blue Lagoon Fish and Chips.
Kiele ko Koneng, where they still sell fish today.
Okay. But my grandmother has passed on.
Okay.
So yes, my grandmother passed on many years ago.
Yeah.
But it came from a background of them coming from Sophia town and obviously moving and coming to Tladi and settling over there. And they established that grocery shop and famous fish and chips shop. So we came from a family that didn't say, watch, you had to realize that, you had to sit and learn as life happened.
Yes.
So I came from that family that was running a business, and we were also very much taught when we were young, and we were involved in the business, and there were really many life lessons and business lessons that came from that. I started going to working at my grandmother's fish and chips shop and grocery shop when I was 9 years old.
Wow.
So I would be given the task of taking care of the till.
Of all things.
Of all things. Yes, but over there, in a very quiet way, you were being taught the importance of taking care of the resources.
So wasn't it disturbing your schooling or your education, the fact that you were a child business, you're a business child as you grew up? Were you able to focus at school? Did you have any friends that you played with after school? Or did you just come from school and shoot straight to the till?
We played like any other children, and I think there was time for everything.
Okay.
There was time for playing, there was time for schoolwork. Mostly being at the grocery shop and fish and chips would be over the weekend. But then the life lessons would happen as and when you visit. And you want to take maybe something from, like stock, chips, sweets, chocolate, and they would teach you and they would tell you, you don't take from that because that you need to sell.
And how valuable are those lessons for you today?
I see that those lessons have been very valuable because they have taught you to really, really focus, and they've really taught you to really prioritize what is very, very important. And as I said, we watched our grandparents, we watched my mother, we watched my aunts as they ran their businesses. So the lessons were not in being sat down and told, here is a lesson that is about to happen. You had to learn to watch. And from that came really great many lessons.
Wow.
So a lot of people ask you, what inspires you? Who are your role models? And we're fortunate enough, to have role models that we can look up to in our everyday lives.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. That must have been quite amazing. But you speak about your history in the local shop where you guys were selling fish and chips, and how did you guys move from fish and chips to the funeral business? Tell us about that move.
Okay. The fish and chips business was my grandmother's business. So my mother decided to begin her funeral services business. And then in 1981, she started JD Funerals. So it was just probably a natural progression of things because they came from Sophia town. And she's always said that she was inspired because next door to her father's business in Sophia town, his fish and chips shop was a funeral undertaker owned by a certain undertaking family then in Sophia town. And my mother always used to watch and was really inspired by that. So for her to diversify, it was just only natural for her to diversify into
The funeral
the funeral
business.
business, yes.
And for you as a child, at that time, do you remember how old you were?
I do. Wow, I was actually 11 years old.
Okay.
Yes, I actually do remember.
Okay.
Yes.
And did she tell you from the first go that I'm going into the funeral business?
We have a very close relationship with my mother, so she was able to communicate. I think, at that age, parents don't get into details about their plans.
Yeah.
You see things as they unfold. Yeah.
But you must have had, I would think if I'm an 11-year-old child, someone telling me I'm going into the funeral business, I will have a shock because how people perceive the business of the funeral business, and it's not really something that a lot of people can do. I
Yes.
know for sure I don't think I would do it.
Yes.
But what type of a shock, or did you have any shock when you were 11-year-old and you realized that my parents are in this type of business?
My sentiments were, I don't think probably shock would be really one of them.
Okay.
As I said, I spent quite a lot of time with her, so probably I didn't have time. I didn't understand what shock was at that age, possibly, So I didn't process it in that way.
Okay.
It was just a matter of, because of the close relationship we had, I would accompany her everywhere.
Is it?
I would accompany her when she is going to see clients. So I saw JD at its inception.
Wow.
I saw JD unfold. I saw when she was meeting families for the first time, and offering her services, and some would be very, very supportive.
So you've always been sort of like a business partner.
I have seen it from the beginning, and I just sat there and I was really always in awe how she really went about doing her work, because in some instances she would be well received, and in other instances it was quite difficult. But
Yeah.
she managed to, she had tenacity and she pushed on, yeah.
So looking at her life then and the business that she started running, obviously with you beside her, what lessons would you draw from the mother that she was, the entrepreneur that she was, the community leader that she was, and how have those lessons influenced your life and who you are today?
Yes. And she started the business in the 80s. You can imagine this was during the height of apartheid. What I saw, she never made an excuse as a business person to say she's a black woman in apartheid South Africa. She never made any excuses for anything. Also, my parents were divorced when I was 6 years old. So she was a single parent raising 4 daughters and also assisting with our cousins as well.
Wow.
Yes. So in what I have seen in her as a mother, as a business person, as a member of the family, as a community leader, she was tenacious and she never made any excuses. So without a shadow of a doubt, those would be great experiences
I'm sure they are.
to take from that and to carry forward. So that is what I have learned from her. Yes.
And has she ever said to you, this is the time when I want you to start taking over the business, and how old were you when that happened?
Okay. She never really asked me to come to the business. Instead, I kept on asking her for the longest time. I went to school. I kept on begging her, literally.
So if you're begging, it means she was at some point saying no.
Yes.
Why was she
Technically,
saying no?
that was a no. But I learned that from a no.
Why
you
would
draw
she say
strength.
no?
So I went to school, and when I came back, she felt strongly that I needed to get experience in the corporate. She felt that I need to work independently for a number of years. But she's the kind of person who doesn't explain herself. So I'm just thinking that is what was at the back of her mind. So for the longest time, I went to corporate and I'm sitting there and I'm looking and I'm thinking, this is what could be done. And I kept on asking her, please, can I just come? I want to come. And I had this, really burning need to really be part of JD Funerals. And she says, no, you need to go and get experience. That's all she said. But then if I going back, a few years back, when she started the business over weekends, remember now we were at the funeral, at the fish and chips, and then she led the fish and chips. So weekends, so we were working at the Funeral Parlour, the first JD office that she opened. So we were working there, writing, selling wreaths, and accepting burial scheme money. And we were kids. We worked there with my cousin, Rufilwe. And when it was quiet, typical kids will go and play party.
Okay.
Just
outside the office.
Outside the office, we'd play party. And then there was a lesson to be learned in that, because when she came back, money was missing.
So you bought sweets?
No, we didn't buy sweets.
Okay.
We'd look after that money pretty well. And she says, but, you sold, this is how much you sold. There's so much which, what happened to the money? And we knew what happened to the money because we were playing, somebody came in and took the money. So from that time, from that age, we learned quite a bit. We learned responsibility. And we saw the benefit of working because we'd be paid.
Yeah.
And the money would be paid.
How much would you get paid?
Oh. I think it was just enough money to buy a packet of biscuits and pine nut, cool drink. That's how much we were paid.
Okay.
I don't remember how much it was then, but that's how much we were paid.
And I'm sure you're very happy, yeah?
We were so happy.
Yeah.
Years later, it progressed. As I grew a little bit older, then I, went to work at the cemetery.
Okay.
And just to try and understand, what happens when they set up at the cemetery. But I was still, young.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And having joined this business, you obviously gave your life to your family business. And I'm sure this is the reason you were asking all the time, can I come to JD? Can I come to JD? Because of your love for your family and what you had seen them achieve in your immediate space.
Yes.
I'm sure for you, a success was not something that was far-fetched. It was achieved at home, and you could see your parents or your grandparents waking up, making it on a daily basis, providing for your family, making sure that your family is well taken care of. But if you had stayed in the corporate world, do you have an idea where you would be today?
I'm not sure if I would have remained in that particular, but I will tell you what I really, really wanted to do, because I had studied international relations. I had wanted to be a diplomat, because she was also quite insistent that you need to go to school and you need to follow your passion, And I had an interest, coming from the times that we grew up in politics. So I wanted to be a diplomat. And obviously, life had different plans for me.
Okay.
No, I had, interestingly enough, wanted to be a diplomat.
Yeah.
So if I hadn't been at JD Funerals, I would have loved to have been a diplomat.
Yes.
But interestingly enough, I see that because we deal with different groups of people and different sectors, we deal with government. So that that training, in a way, has stood me in good stead, to be able to communicate.
It comes in handy.
It really does, yes.
Yeah. And do you have any, I know you've told us you guys used to play outside the office when it was quiet, but I'm sure you started learning the more formal part of the business at that early age inside that office. What was some of your fondest memories and things that you would say to yourself, oh, I didn't know this is how this thing is done? I think from when you're a child, you look at office spaces from television and you draw a picture. Okay, this is what it's like. But the minute you step into an office, it's a totally different picture.
Yes.
You must have had moments as a child back then where you realize certain things. What were some of those fondest memories?
The fondest memory I have is, I remember because she started in Moroka North, and it was a 2-room office, but she had rented the place out. And as the business grew, in a space of 2 years, I think, yes, it was in a space of about 2 years, then she moved on to her premises. So I saw growth. And when the feeling that I had when I first came into the offices that she had built herself, that were now belonging to her, I was really in awe. I saw what hard work does. And I remember, I can actually really still remember the feeling that I had, that, this takes a lot of work. And I saw, where it all really began. Yeah.
It's also interesting for me to, I looked at the picture that we saw of the old office.
Yeah.
9 vehicles, branded vehicles, are parked outside. I'm sure people who were alive at that time will tell you that was big. So I personally have got great respect for your mom, and it speaks to the growth that you saw so early in the business, 2 years.
Yes.
To move from a rented property to a property that you build yourself.
Yes.
I'm not sure in this picture how old was that office, but if she moved from that office to a new office in 2 years,
yes,
and there was 9 cars outside that office, geez.
Yes. No.
So she was a mover and shaker.
She was a mover and shaker. She really was quite a mover and shaker. And she really got a lot of support, from our community, Yakotladi.
Wow.
Wabona. And she is really quite a people's person, and she was able to really, really make a lot of great connections with the societies and groupings. And our support and our growth, we know where we come from as JD Funerals, and we don't forget that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. You can't forget where you come from. It's critically important because it reminds you all the time that every milestone of your life, you remember that I'm here because I was at a certain place before. Braevi, when did you come into the business?
I think I joined the business back in 2018. Yes, 2017, the beginning of 2018, when my dear sister here, I regard her as my sister. Over and above, I know she's my boss.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I was actually asked to come on board for a specific area that was new within JD Funerals.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to say that, JD has moved from Soweto and it moved to the far north of Johannesburg, an area called Diepsloot.
Diepsloot, yeah.
Yes. My role was basically to do what I do best.
Yes.
That is sales and marketing.
Wow.
of which the advantage that I had there, I was one of the service providers which was known because I started working in Diepsloot from 1997.
Oh, wow.
So Diepsloot, the area itself, I know it like a palm of my hand.
Okay.
So it was easy for me to do sales and marketing, new business development for JD in Diepsloot because I knew all the corners of Diepsloot.
And had you been previously in Diepsloot in the funeral industry?
No, it was different.
Okay, okay.
When I started, it was different, but later on, yes, I was with another service provider, of which, you know, God makes his things in his own ways.
Yeah.
I remember when I started speaking to Sister T, I was busy with something. He said, "Come on, Kukai. How are you?" I said, "Fine, thanks," and you go right to that, blah, blah. Then we started talking. Then she said, "You know, we need to take our conversation to the next level."
Yes.
And little did I know also that I'm speaking to the big boss.
Yeah.
I thought I'm speaking to one of the employees of JD. But
Yeah.
when I interacted and moved, like did my own research, and I said, wow, I was actually speaking to the big fish here. And
That's how good she is. She hides herself very nicely.
you know,
Yeah?
even today, believe in me, I've gone with OC to 2011 places.
Yeah.
Whenever we get there,
Yeah.
she doesn't introduce herself as, but she says, "No, my name is Tsotetsi and I'm with Avi Mulava.
Yes.
We are colleagues, we're working for JD Funerals," and that's where it is.
Yes,
It's when now people will ask, "Who's the boss of BG?" and said, "She's the one." They said, "Wow." But over and above, no, that is when JD offered me an opportunity to come on board, and I'm grateful
Yes.
to say, you know, I did my best.
Yeah.
Anything worth doing is worth doing well.
Yeah.
I did my best in Diepsloot
Yes.
until a certain time when she decided that I must come to the Molapo branch.
Yeah.
And of which, she'll correct me if I'm wrong, I'm still doing the best of my ability.
Yes.
But in the years that I've been with JD, I'm confident and I can stand up and say, you know, I've made a difference
Yes.
in one way or the other.
Yes.
My role in JD has actually proven itself that I'm there and I served my purpose, and I am still serving my purpose within the company.
Wow. And when you joined JD, was the old lady still part of the everyday management of the business?
Unfortunately, she was no longer. She was no longer everyday part.
But I'm sure you still get to reap the rewards of her long-term investment, either through, you know, systems internally, either through the culture in the business, either through, you know, what you guys do on a daily basis. You must have walked into her legacy and found that deeply rooted in the business, and probably, you know, adopted that and moved forward with it.
To be honest, my brother, it's still a privilege for me. I'm not sure of my other colleagues.
Yes.
To be working for JD because of, fortunately, after joining the company, I still had a number of opportunities to engage with her.
Yeah.
I remember one time I visited the house where she stays, and she offered me biltong. And also, and the other young kids in the house also say, "Hey, bro, we are fortunate to get the biltong." We requested, we asked for the biltong, but
It's only for the select few.
But the point that I'm trying to get at there, she's a person that every time that you engage with her, you will have something new you have learned.
Wow.
In business and life itself.
Yes, yes.
Every time when I interact with her, there will be something new, and that it's something that I'll take with me, and I say, thanks God I got an opportunity to learn this new thing from a grain.
Wow.
The business is where it is today because of the positive impact that she has, and she still has, just that unfortunately because of age, but you know, her presence, I'm looking for the right word. The things that she has done from 1981. We are in 2020, 2022 today. We're still benefiting. We still enjoying the rewards of the positive things she has done, and she is still even doing, even though she's no longer hands-on in the business. But we are also acknowledging the fact that also is here, because now in her ways of doing things, we see exactly what Granny could be doing if she's here. In her way, whether her conduct, the way she does or deals with issues, the way she will tackle matters, the way she would, her leadership skills and style. It's an identical replica of Joyce. That is why I'm saying, with her absence, not being here physically, because of the age and other issues, but with also being here, we know that we have Granny in our presence.
Wow. And also, how would you then characterize the JD ya Khale and the JD today? What differences are there, or what movements have happened over time? How would you characterize the two?
The JD of the past was built on the strength of the community. The JD of today still grows on the strength of the community. And the work that we have done and the work that we continue to do today. Obviously, there have been so many changes, and the changes also come with the different needs of families. In the past, funerals, the needs was burial services. The JD of today is dealing with a different clientele, with more needs. Like I said, in the past, we just used to have funeral services whereby we would conduct a funeral. It would be providing the family with a coffin, storage facilities, tent, bus, and grave. That's it. The JD of today and the clientele of JD, its membership today, have an evolving need.
Ever evolving
need.
It changes every single day.
Totally. So we have learned from the JD of yesterday to listen to the client. So that's what we've taken from the past. So in listening to the client, we have found out what our members need. And that's what we have. So that growth is really spurned by that. Listening to our members, what they want. We can't insist that this is how we used to do things and that's how we will do it. We learn that we need to listen to the members.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we ask quite a simple question on this podcast. What problem is your business solving? So many businesses exist out there. And when you ask the entrepreneur, Chief, what are you solving? What problem are you solving in society? They've got no idea. So I think it's quite a critical question to pose to every business.
Yes.
To say, what problem is JD Funeral solving in society?
Okay. JD Funeral, first and foremost, is solving, I wouldn't say it's a problem really. They offer a service that where family members can pre-plan. So they solve the problem of unpreparedness.
Yes.
So when you have pre-planned, meaning that you have taken a burial scheme and you have sat down and planned what might be required for a funeral service, when the eventuality happens, it makes it more manageable for the families to go through that process. So we have solved the problem of being unprepared by offering burial schemes and pre-planning services. And obviously pre-planning services is just preparing in detail, where we have families who come in and who say, we would like to plan. Because we understand that when it finally happens, it might be a very difficult time for us.
It is. Yeah.
You know. So we've sat down with families and we have gone through an extensive funeral arrangement process. So when we sit down with them, then we have gotten to the point of finalizing everything at that particular stage. And when they finally lose a family member, they don't even come to the parlor. Everything has been planned.
Yes.
Yeah. We solved the problem of unemployment in that JD Funerals has offered employment opportunities to members in and around our community, in and around Soweto. People coming from all over Gauteng, you know, some coming from the east, some coming from the west. So we have solved the problem of unemployment with our full-time staff members and also the part-time staff members that we have who come in when we have extra work over the weekends.
Yes.
We also have given opportunities to service providers. You know, so we would like to imagine that that's the contribution that we've had in terms of, you know, those particular areas.
Yeah. Very good. Braibi, just maybe briefly, you know, we've now identified the problem that JD Funeral is solving. And I'm sure that you guys have sat down to customize products and services that you would use to solve this problem. Do you want to maybe take us through the type of products and services that you guys offer to the market?
Yes, definitely so. We have, with time, designed tailor-made products. As my sister has indicated earlier on, that, you know, in our industry, clients would come in and would request a particular product to suit their specific needs. Remember, we're dealing with a very difficult and delicate service. You know, conducting a funeral is not like arranging a wedding or a birthday party, but it's something that would come in a spur of the moment, you know, where one needs somebody to run to, somebody needs a shoulder to cry on.
Yes.
So with our products are tailor-made in a way that we are trying, even though, yes, we cannot say we are 100%, you know, providing the product or providing the service that the clients needs. Our products have services that would cater, for an example, a service that in most cases you wouldn't find elsewhere. Repatriation.
Yes.
Repatriation is when having to collect the deceased from the place of death to the place of burial.
Yeah.
We looked at the industry, we look at our clientele. In the area that we are situated in and also the surrounding, we have our fellow brothers who are coming from the SADC countries. I've given an example.
Yeah.
And one would have to be removed, repatriated from Gauteng to anywhere else where they come from.
Sure.
So with our products that are tailor-made to cater for such situations. And proudly also to say that our products cater for the SADC, people coming from the SADC countries.
Wow.
We cater for each and every need that a client would come and request us to do. So our products also, the premiums, they vary from, as I indicated, from the lowest to the highest. But the important thing here is we do not leave anybody outside.
Yes.
We have products for single member, for individuals. We have products for a parent and the children, a couple and children. We have also products for extended family members, including the elderly people.
I saw a product called Abadala.
Abadala.
Yeah.
It means now we cater from the newborn baby up to the elder person who is up to the age of 90.
90?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. And in terms of larger groups, are you guys able to cater for?
Definitely.
You know, you mentioned earlier that the strength of the business was picked up more from group schemes, the society, you know, bigger families. Are you guys able to still do that to this day?
Perfectly so. Perfectly so. We the one good thing about JD, we have an ear to listen. We would invite you to come through and you tell us what is that exactly you need.
Yes.
And then we will say to you, okay, from your needs, this is what we can provide. For group societies, we cater from the smallest groups up to the largest groups. We do not say because now you are 10, now you are a small group, you can cater for no.
Yeah.
We take we do accommodate everybody that would come, but particularly also for the group schemes. We have products that are specially made for group schemes. So there is no group scheme that would say a JD cannot cater or be able to provide us with a product that they particularly need.
Yeah.
We've made sure that all our products, as I indicated earlier on, from individuals to families, extended family members, extended families, including group schemes, we do have those products for them.
Okay. And how important is it to partner with a reputable provider of brokerage services so that you ensure that whenever a family has an eventuality, you can live up to your promise that you have made to them?
It's very important. That is extremely important because you need the resource. You need financial resources during that period. It's of extreme importance that you deal with a reputable service provider, and we are fortunate to have those relationships at the moment. Yeah, with our underwriter.
Because we've seen people promising people the sky and delivering something totally different.
That's why it's important. That's why it's really important for anybody, you know, to really do those checks themselves.
Homework. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very important to do those checks to see if you're dealing with a registered entity and an authorized service provider.
To say anybody who walks into JD, they should know that I'm going to be dealing with Braevi. Braevi is a trained and qualified mortician. Also, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's not to say we just handpick a person from Kostrating and say, come and work here. But they should be knowing that they're dealing.
They know what they're doing.
Exactly what they're doing. Yeah. And over and above, in some cases, you find Braevi walking in, not knowing that Braevi is a lawyer. I'm just giving the worst scenario, you know. If I explain to them a product and I explain to them the terms and conditions, I should be knowing what is that I'm talking about. I should be able to answer each and every question that they'll ask me pertaining the policy. I cannot just say, 1 + 9, 100 rand, you no. In detail.
Gotta be clear.
It gotta be clear. It's one of the strong marketing tools that I've seen also in other places, to say, once you know that you're dealing with a person that is trained and is qualified to do what they're doing, then you become at ease to say, I'm at the right place.
You're at the right place.
Going to a dentist, also it doesn't work. But there should be no more.
You know, Austolo, I've observed in my time working with the funeral industry, I've observed one beautiful thing about this industry. The fact that you meet everyone. You could meet the president of a different country. Okay, we would know our president.
Yes.
But you could meet the president of Lesotho without you being aware.
Yes.
and someone would just come in because they've got an eventuality, they need your assistance, and they don't, introduce themselves and tell who they are, but you interact with everyone.
So true.
A friend of mine said last year, we were sitting for coffee, and she said to me, take note of every person that you come across in this business, because you are going to come across very influential people who are silent, who are just watching you as you do your thing. And these are people that are shaping the macro environment where you operate.
Yes.
And I'm sure in what you've just said, Braebi, you've met a lot of people, equally as Ostol. I'm sure you've met a lot of people that you had no idea that you're meeting this person, but through this business, you build relationships, and you then build yourself through those relationships.
It's very true. It's very true what you say in Bongani, because we have an experience of that. It's so true. Our society is a sample of our families, in that there's so much diversity in families.
And also, when you guys put together products and services, how do you know this product will work and this product will not work?
Okay.
What tells you what will and what will not work?
It's very important to do your market research.
Okay.
It's also important to speak to your members, to establish what the need is.
Okay.
So that's mainly how we find out if a product is working or not working. If you already have an existing product, you'll see the response from your members.
So data from that product will
Yes.
inform what
Yes.
outcome that
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, so we analyze our data quite a bit to see what is working, what is not working. And if it's not working, we ask why it's not. But then looking at that, we are able to know, okay, this is a step in the right direction, or we need to leave this because it doesn't have a good response.
Yes. And I guess it speaks to how adaptable you guys need to be as a business. Because if something doesn't work, there's no point you wasting time and money in that product. You've got to move to something that customers want and are willing to pay for. Right, Abby?
True. True. As Khaiti has alluded earlier on, we interact most with the clients, and they would say, instead of having service X, why don't you add service Y? This is what we need mostly. I'll just give a worst scenario. Instead of giving providing video, I'm not against providing live streaming, but the client would say, instead of providing a live video, why don't you give me a grocery voucher of 100 rand?
Yes.
So what we do, as Osia said, we do research, we look at, or we do engage with the clients to understand what is that they need, what is that is important for them, and then we try and inculcate that into the product, into the product and service.
And what I've found is that customers tell you, whether directly or indirectly, they communicate what works for them and what does not work for them. So even if you don't have a conversation with your customers, but just by sheer observance or observing what happens as you provide your service or your product, you will get an idea of where the customer is, or whether they accept your product and service. Sure, Brady.
Yeah, I just want to add to what you say now. We also have a service that we evaluate the service after the funeral. By myself, I'll call the family and ask them, this is Adrian Molapo speaking, calling you from JD Funerals. We've just conducted the funeral for you over the weekend. Can we evaluate? how was the service? Then they'll say, no, we thank you very much, blah, blah, blah. Can you please also include a gas stove and pots in your package?
Yes.
Because now we had a challenge, and if you had that, it could have made life easier for us. Then we make a note of it, so that we know in future, then our clients also need a gas stove and pots as part of the service. So we do that consistent evaluation after each and every service that we do.
No, good. But tell me, in today's world of tech and people being crazy about technology and wanting to infuse technology in everything or every aspect of life, how technology friendly is your entire customer experience?
Definitely. It's definitely technologically sensitive in that we had to adapt, especially during the COVID, whereby, instead of having live funeral services, we had live streaming, whereby, your extended family and friends who couldn't attend could, stream in. So we've had to really be adaptable and really change with the times. We had families during that particular period who made funeral services arrangements virtually.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So they didn't come to the office.
They didn't come to the office.
But everything was handled.
Everything was handled. Everything was handled. So they would make the arrangements virtually.
Are you guys still able to offer that to today?
Yes, we have seen, because we have seen that different times, the pandemic, for example, made us realize so many things. So we've adapted. So we are able to really offer virtual services from beginning to end. In terms of administration, in terms of streaming in live to the service, but at the end of it all, we communicate with the families as to, how far do you want to go?
Yes.
Is it 100% virtual? Or,
So they make that ultimate choice.
They do make that ultimate choice. And even in terms of, we have to say that there were protocols that were in place whereby the government had set certain regulations in place in terms of the pandemic, in terms of viewing loved ones. So we had to adapt and change, and ensure that happens for families, but following close protocols. Yes.
Okay. And just zooming into your target market, do you guys have an idea of who your target is, or your market? Who is your market?
It's a very difficult question to answer because, like we said earlier on, we have such a wide range of customers coming in, requesting our services. Like we said, we'll have one family member who will have a policy and who will connect you to another, family member who's in a different, LSM group. So we are not, I think when you are asked to who is your target, it kind of limits us in that we have to understand that when you ask the question, who experiences death, that we all experience death. We all lose loved family members. So to say, what is your target market is very difficult to answer from that perspective, in that everybody, experiences that. So in a nutshell, we really do deal with really a diverse, membership. Yeah.
Tell me, how do you manage customer expectation so that it's easy for you to achieve customer satisfaction?
Just it's very important. You need to communicate with them to determine what it is that they want, the kind of service that they envisage. It's very difficult. We have seen with our experience, especially, now in terms of people requiring event planning, catering, more extensive services around a funeral service. We have experienced two different types of people. Those who are shy to communicate what they want because it's a funeral, and they're concerned about maybe family saying, how do you plan to that extent for a funeral? And you have those who are quite clear about what they want. So it really does, you have to find a way of communicating with your client and really, establishing what it is exactly that they want around a funeral service. Even to the extent of saying, okay, if you want decor, do you have an idea? This is the work that we have done. But if you have anything else in mind, can you show it to us in a picture? Because it is such a very difficult time emotionally and otherwise. You don't want to make it more difficult by providing them something that they never wanted. So you have to, we get into a, we actually engage with families extensively around that. Yes.
To understand the need.
To understand the need, yes.
Yeah, very important.
And throughout this 41 years, do you have families or customers that have been with you from inception?
Wow. It's really quite interesting. Yes, we have very strong support from where it all began, in Tladi and in Moroka North, in Naledi, in Zola, in Molapo, Rockville, the surrounding areas. But as people move and they move to different areas, so we will have a need from those areas where they have moved to.
Well, as they move, so does your support.
Oh, yes.
If one moves from Zola to Alberton, now you've got a support base in Alberton.
Oh, yes, yes. So in that way, we find ourselves really offering funeral services in and around Soweto, and we'll go all over. So we are here in Soweto, but we'll be offering services all around the country. We also do have very strong repatriation services that we offer, like AB alluded earlier on, where nearly on a weekly basis, we are in and around the country. We go into the Eastern Cape, and not only repatriating, meaning taking, a deceased member to their place of origin, but we do it differently in that we offer a service. So making it easier for the family from Johannesburg up until where they're going to offer them a fully fledged funeral service. Yes.
I'm sure it must be one of the ways you guys also give back to the community. But are there any other initiatives, Brahebi, where you guys have given back to the broader community, not necessarily those who are your customers only? Corporate social investment is also a marketing tool. People could not be your customers, but when they see you sponsoring a soccer tournament in the local environment, they then know who you are. Definitely. They start asking questions, who are you? And from the information they gather, they could end up giving you guys work. So have you done any other projects where you give back to the community?
We have, and we still are. In Soweto, we're working closely with church groups.
Okay.
We're working with feeding schemes. We have also been part of some programs. There's a particular program whereby they have a camp for matriculants.
Okay.
The period when they are writing their final year exams, they are kept in a particular place for studying and preparation of their exams. We are part of that. We have taken part in a number of sports activities, of which we are still now. And the other one, it was now June 16, the Youth Day. You know, we are also part of a program which was done in
Middlelands.
So yes, we are fully part of the CSI programs in our communities. It has been there from the initiation of the company by Joyce Dibane, and it's still done even now.
Yeah, it was never really formal. You know, we come from a community that, you know, when there's a need, you come in. So it's something that has really been there in the organization, that when you see a challenge in a community, you intervene, you know. So that has happened really over the years. Yes.
And in terms of the local environments where you guys operate, there must be a lot of small business that provide services that one way or another you do need or you do use in providing services to your customers. Would you say that there are small businesses that have benefited from the existence of JD Funerals over the years?
No, definitely. Definitely, yes. Sowetans we are people of who like good quality service, you know.
That's true.
Yeah. You know, so in and around our community, we do have service providers just around the corner. Excellent caterer, world-class caterers who have the ability to offer, you know, a different range of catering options. So we are really quite fortunate in that, you know, when people do require catering services, we refer to either those two companies.
And when you guys realize that you need a service, how do you select the right service provider? What are those things that you look at and take a decision based on those to say this is the right service provider?
A lot of times you see people in action. I think you can identify. I think you can identify. You see them offering a service, and that's how you see people. And a lot of times also it's really word of mouth. But you see people providing that service, and you know that.
And I guess that's important.
Extremely important.
Because it speaks to their ability to deliver.
Oh, yes. Different.
And you guys as JD Funerals, have you guys benefited from other businesses or other institutions that are much bigger than you guys? This could be from either training or policy perspective. You know, you can't exist in isolation. At some stage, whether you're a business, however big you are, you need assistance, either mentorship from other businesses that have walked the path and that have been there before you guys.
Yes, definitely, Bongani. We've benefited from organizations which are bigger than us. Norman is an island, so you will get support from organizations and institutions, you know, to you know, in your services. And the one that comes to mind is the relationship that or the services that we get from the services CETA in terms of training and development for our staff members, which is continuous. And also at the moment we're going through a coaching program with CEDA. So definitely no man is an island. Organizations are made up of individuals, and it is actually more the individuals which would support, you know, the vision that you have.
And from a national policy perspective, what are the changes that you think need to happen for the funeral industry?
The changes that really need to happen is consistent and stronger communication between funeral directors and government. The communication that needs to really take place, which is very, very quite important to direct government, is on issues which affect us on the ground.
Okay.
And I'm glad to say that it's already happening. An example would be issues of challenges that we experience with Home Affairs. We are able to engage with Home Affairs on those kind of issues and find solutions. So I'm happy to say that.
That's important.
So at the heart of this is really strong communication between us as service providers and the government.
And I've observed that, cemeteries in and around Johannesburg, some of them have reached capacity. How are you guys addressing some of those issues and other issues that might be there, that might be, affect you on the ground?
Okay. The space issue is being addressed by government in that the two options that we are seeing in our industry is that of families opting for reburials in existing cemeteries in and around Soweto, and in and around Soweto essentially. And then also what we have seen is that there has been an increase for cremation services.
Okay.
Yes. So also that answers the challenge that we have with space.
But I've always thought people opt for cremation because it's something traditional or it's something, in their culture that there's some belief system behind it. I've always known one or two families that I know say, I ba cremator. But I'm surprised to learn that people are now opting for it as a space solution.
Maybe families might be choosing the cremation option for different reasons.
Okay.
But in a way, it also addresses the space issue in that it will be a cremation.
But is it something that you guys encourage?
We work with families and what they want.
Okay.
So if a family comes and they want a cremation service, we offer a cremation service.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, it's very important to, to address a need that they have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And do you think your family and JD in particular would be proud of the role that you have played and what you've achieved in this business over the years? And if anything, what do you want to say to them?
Our family is not a very expressive group of people, and the fact that I've been here, all this time, up until now, is, I would say it's a nod from her, so I would take that as a compliment.
Okay.
She's not one to be very expressive, so that helps in that she doesn't give out compliments easily. So you only strive to do your best. You want to do better than your last, service.
Keeping you on your toes.
She knows how to keep us on our toes. Yeah. So that's the person that she is. I guess maybe what we would say, if you ask, the response from the family, I would say when I see them here saying, can you undertake a funeral service for us? Then I would take that as a nod from that.
Wow.
Because those are my most challenging, I can't call them clients because they're my family, but they keep us on our toes. And that is really how you view your family, and the service that you offer them is because you've gone through loss yourself. You remember that when you're dealing with families and you're helping them, you remember when you lost your loved one. Yes.
And as we close, do you have any parting shot for any other entrepreneur who could be watching this and thinking, one day I'd like to be in, you know, where Tsulu is, especially female entrepreneurs who are striving out there, fighting every day for survival. You know, very few people get into entrepreneurship for fun and just because they can. People go into entrepreneurship because they want to survive. Do you have any closing remarks that you want to make to that type of a person who looks up to you today?
Yes. What I would like to say is that you must never give up. You know, the dream that you have, you know, and the passion that you have, you know, to see your vision through. You must never ever give up on that. It can be a challenging journey, you know, a lot of times. And the most important thing is that you must never give up. And you always have to surround yourself, you know, with people who can help you each and every step of the way, because you can never walk this journey alone.
Raebi, do you have any parting shot as we close?
Okay, thank you very much, man, for the opportunity you gave us, and I'd just like to thank you for giving us the ability to share with the world, you know, who JD is and what JD does. And on behalf of JD, I'm glad to say this in the presence of my senior here, to say that we commit, you know, to do the best that we can in serving the need of our clients, and also being there for them in their times of grief. JD is a home whereby we will be there for you, regardless of the situation, regardless of the circumstances, and we are a home for you to seek help from. And we strive to do nothing but the best for our clients.
And that brings us to the end of our episode today. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you and me will cooler with the experience that we've learned from JD Funerals. Thank you, Ostolo. Thank you, Braebi. And see us next time as we bring you more entrepreneurship stories to inspire you to chase your dream.